I've never seen this before. In a high school football game in San Antonio between John Jay and Marble Falls, 2 football players were ejected and now have been suspended for running into the back of a referee who was watching a play. The ref's head snapped back when he was leveled from behind. Then the other player dove on top of him. Even before the incident, 2 players were ejected on separate plays. The district would hear from game officials, coaches, and students during an upcoming due process hearing. Marble Falls coach Matt Green said Jay's coach Gary Gutierrez apologized after the game. I've coached 14 years and I've never seen anything like it, Green said. The referee was very upset and wanting to press charges. Kate, what is your reaction to this high school targeting refs?
I've never seen anything like that, just like you said. I've never seen anything like it. I need more context and more information. Not because I think there's anything that anybody could say that would change what just happened. But like a lot of things that happen in our society now, a lot of like public shaming we take part in, once you pull back a little bit, you actually have more context about maybe why somebody posted something on Facebook or Twitter, and that does not justify the actual post or what happened, but it does provide you a little bit more of a lens so you can at least see somebody's motivation. Because right now, without any motivation or any understanding of who these guys are, what their history is, anything about them, it's hard to just scream, get him out of here, be gone. Because I think that's an overreaction that we even talk about a lot at the NFL level and the college football level when we see guys commit crimes. And there's a lot of people who would tell you that that's a crime. What they did is cut them, get them out of here, no form of rehabilitation of any kind. Let's not talk to them. They're just gone from the program. In which case, I think, you're not even addressing the space from where this behavior came from. You're simply removing the offenders and saying get out of here and leaving the space as is, which you could say created this. I don't know, and we don't know yet. That's where you need the context. Was it the high school football culture in Texas? Was it this specific team? Was this an issue honestly, was this an anomaly? Was it a complete anomaly? All of this context we don't have yet, which is where you can't really go and say, get these guys out of here completely. At least I can't say that, because I don't really believe in that type of outrage as being beneficial, one, to the culture or to the individual players. Because you have to look broad term and be like, what would be the ultimate end goal here? One, I would love if 10 years down the line, these players understood a better way to react to things and to resolve situations, rather than just cutting them loose and not learning that at all. And 2, whatever culture and space helped create that behavior has also been changed in some small way.
So you and I agree on this except for one area, except for one caveat. First of all, the important part of agreeing right now is that this looks horrendous and we need to know more. As a lawyer, as someone who's been in the media, not just on the sports side, but in the news side, where I've seen things that appear criminal end up being criminal, but yet we know so little about, are overreacted to. And that has a real cost, because the public decides on a conclusion without any information but what they initially see. And nothing has a worse track record. Nobody is worse at predicting than initial reaction. Initial reactions are so poor and inaccurate. This is why we have to be careful, because this is more than about being cut. This, to me, clearly, if this is what we think it is, if it is what we see on this videotape, criminal. In Texas, there is a law that makes it a crime to assault a sports referee specifically. Now, largely that was designed to stop parents from charging onto the field during Little League games and yelling at refs or touching a ref. But this is even more than that. Those carry potentially 180 days. This is pure assault, if it is what we think it is. And it could be aggravated assault. This could really have injured this referee. These guys are wearing pads and helmets. And what dictates the outcome of this is what a prosecutor in Marble Falls, Texas decides to do. If he wants to go after these guys, now we have to take their age into account. I'm sure they were young.
Yeah, we don't even know that information.
We don't know that information. But theoretically, on the surface, looking at that video, this could be very serious, very criminally serious. So we want to make sure we get it right. To your point, get all of the context. Find out everything that was involved in that hit that looks, on its surface, just like 2 guys targeting a ref from behind. The second one while he's down, spearing him with his helmet. The one place I disagree with you, I have trouble seeing anything larger than perhaps something with these players and this coach and maybe this squad. Culture of football, drawing larger conclusions about violence in football. I have a huge amount of difficulty seeing how this could be tied to anything larger. And we have accepted that to some degree. We've accepted that football has a violent culture and creates human beings who are inherently violent in normal society as well. But that's not backed up by statistics. Whether or not it's domestic violence or any other criminal category, when you look at, for example, the NFL versus the rest of society, they under-index. And nobody says this. Nobody draws attention to the fact that the NFL, by and large, are model citizens compared to the rest of society. Doesn't mean there's not aberrations. Doesn't mean there's not bad guys. But you can't have a larger cultural problem if you're actually doing better than the rest of society.
Yeah, but I completely stated beforehand that it's about the information in the context.
Absolutely. And we agree on that.
So, it's not, if you told me this is an anomaly and we get all of the information and somehow these two guys, independently of anything else,
or even
decided to do this,
or even at the encouragement of their coach, it doesn't indict football at a larger degree, even if their coach said, go do this.
Right. And I didn't say let's talk about national NFL issues. All I said was the space from which this behavior came. These two players. I want to understand the space that created this.
So the space
now, it could be the high school football team. Maybe it's just the family, the home. Maybe it's the culture.
Maybe it's the head of the two players.
Right. Whatever the space is, maybe it was just them. That's where we need the context and information. But I just don't think once we have that, if it does point to a larger issue in that team or school, then we need to address that. You can't just cut those players.
I think that's fair. Often, the person on the surface that you see doing the deed is scapegoated for something that is much larger. I'll agree with you on that.
I don't think it's a broader question of like violence in football necessarily.
Okay.
But I do think there are spaces, and we've seen this before in Steubenville, Ohio. There are spaces created, and they are tangential with football, where there can be something toxic that's created. And that doesn't mean all of high school football is toxic. But in these certain little pockets, sometimes the confluence of those events leads to a toxic space where young men and women, depending on the sport they play, believe they can do something and believe they are untouchable by law.
I think you're right.
And even if there is, once we have the full story and all the details, it's never okay to tackle the refs. We can have more.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what you guys are trying to say. It's never okay, but there might be something to justify, that we want them to channel their behavior.
Well,
truthfully,
at this juncture, we don't even know if it was an accident. It doesn't look like an accident.
No,
There's nothing that suggests it was an accident, but we need to make sure that's the case.
I just want more context before moving forward.
Yes.
There's nothing, I don't think there's anything they could say or I could hear that would justify what happened on the video, but going forward, let's hear more about their story and what premeditated this.
Yeah, 100%. As Stephen A. would say, cause for pause. That's what we have right now. We'll continue to react when we hear more on this. Meanwhile, week 1 in college football concludes tonight with the defending national champions. What was the biggest surprise so far? We'll tell you that after the break. Stay here. He brought Showtime to Los Angeles, but he is Kevin Durant's point guard on his all-time NBA team.